Here's Brody Brazil.
In the 20-plus years I've been doing broadcasting, and for the recent time I've been here on YouTube, I've kind of noticed that I don't necessarily fit the mold of a sports personality, because most in my business and field are all about the hot takes. It's sports. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to reach out there, explore the mind, explore the possibilities. It's fun as a discussion, as an experience. I totally understand that, and don't get me wrong. I love a hot take here and there. I love giving one if I don't think it has that much meaning riding on it, or it's not such a serious topic or conversation. Sure, make a prediction, have an insight. It's okay to have hot takes. There's no question about that. But as I said, I don't feel like I fit that mold because generally speaking, I'm more about having and presenting sensible takes and topics on a place here like the YouTube channel. I just feel like it fits me as a person, me and what I've experienced, and me is how I want to present sports topics to the general public. I don't know if anybody needs this description, but I kind of wanted to spell this out before I get into some real life examples like topics and stories I cover here on this channel. I'll give you hot takes versus sensible takes, the two different sides of each topic in just a second. Hot takes, generally, they generate reaction. It's rare that you'll have a hot take and somebody goes, oh, okay. It's usually the hot take followed by, whoa, are you serious? Is that right? That's the intention of a hot take, is to generate that reaction. And of course, usually with that reaction, the hot take gets passed along. Friend to friend, person to person, shared on social media. Yeah, it can go viral, a hot take can, on social media. That's kind of why they're intentional for people in the sports media field, especially sports radio, YouTube channels. If you're trying to get your message out there and your product and program out there, you're going to rely on hot takes because hot takes get passed along. Hot takes also use, usually, an emotional delivery. When was the last time you saw somebody just low-key give you a hot take? Something you couldn't believe, but they kind of just delivered it like this, like it was no big deal. That rarely happens. Usually it's somebody fired up, yelling into the microphone, I'm going crazy, I'm outside of my head right now, here's how I feel about this, blah. That's the hot take. And you're aware of all the sports media pundits who do it just like that. They use an emotional delivery. Sometimes I feel like the hot takes they're having is more about effect than actual belief. Like, are you doing this to be performative, or do you actually believe in the hot take you're delivering? And yeah, this is just so common in sports media because there's so much conversation surrounding sports. There's talk shows, there's YouTube channels, there's social media. There's so much of a buzz surrounding sports because, well, it's entertainment and people talk about it. So you get a lot of hot takes. Sensible takes, for me, go like this. Number one, they're usually patience related. A lot of times we don't have all the answers right now. I don't have a precise opinion for you right here, right now, but I'll give it time. Time will tell. Time will figure out which way we think things are trending and going, and we still might be surprised, but a sensible take usually involves patience. A sensible take also usually lacks shock value. Like if I tell you something, a sensible take, you'll go, okay, makes sense. Simple as that. It's not like, whoa, I need to have a seat. I need to catch my breath after that one. Sensible takes are not usually laced with emotion. That's why you typically don't see me here shouting into this microphone, brain going at 1,000 degrees. You just don't see that type of tension or emotion with sensible takes. And unfortunately, sensible takes aren't always passed along. I mean, if it's thoughtful and insightful and it comes with some integrity, then maybe sometimes, yeah, it can go viral to a certain degree. But sensible takes never take off like hot takes. Usually sensible takes are about bigger perspectives, right? It's not isolating on just one part of the issue or problem or topic. And also sensible takes usually come with easier accountability. You're not going in on something and guaranteeing it's going to happen and telling everybody this is the reason why and I'm so sure of this. It generally kind of puts only a few toes in the pool here and there, and it shows you some answers, but it makes it also easier in the long run to say, well, I wasn't totally right about this, but I wasn't totally wrong because I wasn't so sure at the time. That's more of a sensible take. So let me dive through some examples here of current stories going on in the sporting world. The hot take version versus the sensible take version. The whole Shohei Ohtani and his informer interpreter Ippei, the sports betting scandal, if that's what we want to call it. The hot take is, well, this has to be a cover-up for Ohtani. He had to do this. He was definitely part of this. Again, this is just me explaining what the hot take would be. I'm not saying this is my actual opinion. This is the hot take. Ohtani had to know. He was somehow part of this, and Ippei is his fall guy. And all of this investigation, this federal stuff, it went too quickly. I'm still not sure about it. That is the hot take. That is what gets passed around. That is what gets listened to on a YouTube channel, a podcast, or a radio program. The sensible take is, wait, wasn't this a federal investigation? Like the government was really trying to find the answers, and they did? Doesn't the sensible take also realize that, sure, Shohei made mistakes. Maybe his mistake was just who he surrounded himself with, who he totally trusted to take care of things like, finance, image, responsibility. I mean, there is some degree of ownership that Ohtani has to take in knowing his people that he has brought on and trusted. Same thing with anybody and their friends. You have to know which friends you can trust and how much you can actually trust them for. The sensible take also goes like this. Ippei had an extreme gambling addiction to the point where I think he lost $180 million gambling and gained $140, so a net negative $40 million in the hole on sports betting. I mean, that in itself is a sensible conversation. We need to talk about that more than who this superstar is, Ohtani, and the Ippei part of it. Like, we literally need to talk about the sensible side here, which is there's a sports betting problem in our culture, and it's only magnifying and trending in a worse direction. More things to bet on, more technology to do it, more companies out there, more encouragement to do it, and some lessons to be learned for everybody in all of this. That's the sensible take, not the whole cover-up, not the one that I obviously believe in. The Coyotes leaving Arizona in favor of Utah and Salt Lake City. Well, the hot take is, and I've heard this already, I've seen the comments, well, the team had their chances. They had 25 years to figure it out in Arizona, and they couldn't figure it out in Phoenix or Glendale or Tempe or Mesa or Scottsdale. I totally understand. And the other hot take is, well, they didn't have any fans anyway. Nobody cares about the Coyotes down in Arizona. The area did not want them. That's the hot take, right? That's the one that people, I guess, are craving to hear and share and pass along. The sensible take is that I don't care how this happened, whose fault it was. This is really unfortunate for the fan base, for employees who work around the Coyotes, for people who follow and love this team. And there are plenty of them out there. And they should have had a better experience all along. This threat should never have been held over their head for so many years. Another sensible take is that the league was patient. I mean, this is all happening quick here and now, it seems. But it did take years of trying to figure things out, and the league did not rush the Coyotes out of this situation. It seems like maybe now they've had some urgency and they've kind of accelerated things, but we should be clear, the league has been patient. Another sensible take is just that we're talking about business versus community here. Some people will say, yeah, well, the Coyotes are a business, the NHL is a business, and they can do whatever they want. They can leave town just like any other business could. But you know what? In professional sports, it's interesting how teams tie themselves to the community. A community fund, a community this, a community that. We're in the community. We love the community. We want your public money from the community. You know that arena, the new arena that's going to get built in Utah? Well, the state of Utah and its taxpayers are paying for it to the tune of $900 million. Maybe that doesn't cover all of it, but that's the whole community part. And then what if someday that hockey team leaves Salt Lake City? What about the $900 million? Well, it's not community anymore. It's a business now. It's crazy how that's twofold. Anyway, that's the sensible take. And you know what? All of this is probably the result of ownership. And it takes a little bit of everybody and local leaders. And the decision here is ultimately kind of being forced by the league, but probably a result of different ownerships. And it's not even just this ownership. There have been multiple ownerships for this team in that market And I think that's kind of where you can have a sensible take on this. It's not one person or another. This is just generally the result of ownership. So that's a hot and sensible take on that topic. How about the pitcher elbow and arm injury epidemic? Not just in Major League Baseball, all the way down to the youth levels. The hot take is, well, for major leaguers, elbow injuries, Tommy John surgeries, so what? That's part of their job. They know what they're signing up for, right? They know exactly what they were getting themselves into. This is just part of the job. They're getting paid millions. I don't feel bad for them. Well, another part of the hot take is it's this reason alone. It's too many curveballs. It's too much velocity. It's the baseball that's changed. It's the lack of sticky substance that you can't use anymore with the baseball. It's the pitch timer. It's throwing too much in the offseason. It's throwing not enough in the offseason, whatever. The hot take is it's blaming one particular thing for what's probably a lot of things contributing to this issue. And then the last hot take here is, well, this will get fixed. They'll figure this out all by themselves. It'll take care of itself. I've seen that. You sure about that? The sensible takes on this topic for me go like this. We're not talking just about major leaguers. We're talking about college players, minor leaguers, high schoolers, little leaguers. If you're telling me there's kids out there who are snapping so many curveballs and gripping that ball so tight, and for whatever reason, Tommy John surgeries are prevalent in kids of high school ages and lower, that's a problem. It was never like this. And so this is young lives impacted. And let's go back up the scale. Let's say you're a 24-year-old major leaguer. You still have so many good years ahead of you in your life and your career, and we're missing some young arms blossom because they're not pitching, they're throwing their arms out. The elbow and the brain, I think, don't also completely form. They're not completely mature until 25 or 26 years old. I'm not saying you can't do everything before those ages, but the point is we are cutting off so many because we're asking too much of them way too early. The sensible take is that it's a combination of a lot of issues. We can see the trends. The trends are awful. That's the sensible take. To put one answer to the trends and say, well, it's exactly and only because of this, I don't think that's correct. I think it's obviously a combination of issues, but understanding that the trends going in this direction are what needs to be addressed. How about baseball and their jersey issues? The hot take is, this is all Fanatics' fault. We've seen Fanatics products. We know their reputation. We know the mismatching this and the wrong name on that and the threads falling apart. Yeah, I understand the reputation. I totally get it. And I think Fanatics is trying to get better than where they used to be in terms of their product and reputation. I've seen people go out and say they're just boycotting the new baseball jerseys. They don't like the small lettering or the fabric or the material, and why can't they just make them like they used to? And I'm not going to stop you, but I'm also not here to promote some movement of making that happen. The market will decide what people are and are not going to buy, and for some people it matters. Other people, it just doesn't matter that much. And there's also the hot take that, Fanatics is in charge of the NHL jerseys starting next year all by themselves, and that's going to be a huge problem, an issue. I do think it's something worth paying attention to, but don't you think all of this right now is causing enough spotlight and concern and awareness so that things will go the right way with the NHL and Fanatics? You'd like to think so. Look, the sensible take here is also this. How do Nike and Major League Baseball get off the hook on this topic? Nike is the one who designed these new jerseys. MLB is the one who approved these new jerseys. I understand it's a business relationship. It's a $1 billion trifecta between these three companies. But at some point, baseball should have been the ones to say, you know what? When our players sweat through that gray jersey, are you going to see all those sweat marks? This feels extra thin, inappropriately thin. Can I see through those pants? How about the lettering, the size of the lettering on the back? Those names feel and seem a little bit small. Are our fans going to be able to see that? Where's Major League Baseball on this? That's kind of the sensible take here. As much as it's real easy to point the finger at Fanatics, like there's others involved here too. They also just tried to change too much at once. I'm all for the evolution of Major League Baseball jerseys, right? Technology in the times. They're supposed to adapt and evolve. I totally understand that. But you can't change 10 things on a jersey from one season to the next and think that nobody's going to notice and everybody's going to love what you did. Small changes, small tinkering throughout time, or at least get the new jerseys approved by so many players all at once that you don't find yourself in this type of situation. And I think the most sensible and important take here is that all of this talk about baseball jerseys for the last 2 months, it's really dominated headlines around Major League Baseball. And there are other things, the Ohtani stuff and the Oakland A's relocation, like there are other important things going on, but you really shouldn't be having this topic about baseball jerseys for this long. So you'd have to think that the league is hearing fans, is hearing players, the companies are hearing fans and players, and they'll have to get this resolved. That is the sensible take. Here's another one. The San Francisco Giants off to kind of a slow start. Well below 500, not what people expected out of the gate. The hot take is that, well, they might need to make some changes already. They need to trade this or add that or move this or do something with that person or player. There's the hot take of, well, it's still the same front office and they don't know what they're doing and they're just spending more. And then there's also the hot take of it's time to DFA this person or that person. And granted, that happens. That's part of Major League Baseball. I realize Mike Yastrzemski is not performing to the tune of what you'd expect, or really any Giants right fielder on any regular basis. Totally understand it. But those are all the hot takes. Those are the conversation starters that you would expect. The sensible take is, you know what? It's a long season. Some of these players have the track record you know. You built this team on purpose this way. You got to give it time. You're like, what, 10% in to the season maybe at this point? And it's not just one facet of the game. Sometimes it's the lack of offense. Other games, it's the bullpen you can't rely on. Some games it's been, and not many, it's been the starting pitching. Other games, the defense has been a little bit shaky and given away some runs. It's not just one thing that you can blame and remedy and move on from. That's the sensible take, is to understand that. It's also sensible to say that if you want to point fingers at the front office or anybody in the executive suites of the Giants, they feel this pressure too. They just spent a lot more money from last season to this one. They made some wholesale changes. They feel the pressure to make this happen too. So don't think that as fans, you're the only ones feeling under the microscope or feeling the heat right now. Of course you feel that way. You're passionate, as you should. Just know that the decision makers are also very well aware of the results so far, but everybody should probably give it a little more time. So just to recap, hot takes, nothing wrong with them. I know I've probably gone against many of them here and downplayed many of them and tried to counter many of them. They're fine. They have a time. They have a place. Usually it's when the conversation doesn't mean much. I think this player might score 40 points tonight. I think so-and-so is going to get a hat trick. I think this guy's going to hit 284 this year for whatever team. Those are fine. But a lot of times the hot takes that are so spicy and they go so viral, it's just not for me. And that's what I'm here on my YouTube channel to do, is to hopefully provide you sensible, thoughtful perspectives that you'll actually want to take to heart. And on that note, you've made it here to the end of the video. You know I really appreciate that, for you to stick around this long. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button down below. That'll help me and this channel and this video. And also, you know I would love to see you back here next time. So do me a quick favor, if you haven't already, go down and hit that subscribe button.